Hey, Sandy. Hey, hey. And I kept retaking the video or the picture, and it went and just posted on Discord that I had posted a video. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm still taking the picture and I don't like it. Oh, it was funny. Hey, Linda. Hey, hey. Narrow. Hey, guys. Oh, and Linda, they showed up and they loved it and they're coming back. It was exactly what he was looking for. So I'm so excited. They met a lot of people, loved it. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, hey, Anna, Linda and I went to, we had a girls' day on Friday. I took a couple days off from work, and I still have tomorrow off, too. And we went and just kind of hung out and had lunch and shopped, and then went and had some happy hour drinks. And our lunch waiter was new to the area, super sweet young guy and his wife, and they were looking for a church home. And so I invited him to my church, and he said that was exactly what he was looking for. So that's what I was talking about. He had been to several and hadn't quite found what they wanted. And so, yeah. And I'm going to keep looking this way because my comments, again, are over here because I'm upstairs. So it was just easier for me to do the video up here since I'm going to be showing you guys. Remember last time I showed you guys, it was easier to do it up here because I could get you guys above me. Hey, Marissa. Let's see if I can pull this any closer. A little bit. There. And of course, I've got literally all my stuff right here. You guys would laugh if you saw my setup. I can barely move. Oh, so I had one of those setup times, you know, and I'm sure everybody can relate. So since I decided to be up here, everything was down in the studio. Well, it's 3 flights up, 3 flights down. And okay, go down, get this, that, and the other. Get all the way up the 3 flights. Oh, you forgot that. Go down the 3 flights. Go back up the 3 flights. Oh, you thought that was up here. No, that's down there. I think I did that probably 8 times. It was crazy. Hey, Liz. Hey, Liz, how's the embroidery machine going now that you've had it for, what, 2 weeks, a week? Are you totally down that rabbit hole now? Now I'm going to do some more sewing on stuff for the market. I've got a bunch of the bummies cut. But I found this cute little container the other day that I saw somebody making. And it's so easy. And I was like, I need to show you guys how to do that because I want one anyways. And I'm like, this could be super simple. And we can use up whatever we've got around, you know, our sewing studios and stuff. Hey, Angela. I know some of you girls are getting excited because like I keep missing, and well, I try and stay, you know, in this time range somehow, but today I was running later and later because I was going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. It just was one of those days. Oh wow, I didn't even try and match. Look at that. And I'm getting stared at pathetically by Ember, you know, because I know you can't be on the couch down in the studio and doing your antics. And I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, all it takes is once, Liz. Yep, you've got the hang of it now, so you got it, girl. All right, so as I said, we're going to make these really easy, this really easy container out of, you can do it out of anything. The one I watched, I think, made it out of cork fabric, and it was really cool. So the inside and outside was out of cork fabric. I just have this vinyl faux leather. that I'm going to make mine out of, and I can't get this crease out for the life of me. I threw it in the dryer, and I probably just needed to leave it in there longer. And you cannot iron, obviously, this side, but you can't iron this side either. So as you can tell, I just gave it a real super light try, and that's what happened. I didn't think I could, but I thought, you know, I'm just going to try. And I barely had a warm iron. And when I set it down, it just kind of melted it real quick. So I'll live with this. It'll probably eventually come out on its own. And then I've got a just a regular lining fabric. You can use something stiffer if you want. So anything you got, denim, you know, canvas, something like an old purse that's big enough that you're not going to use anymore. You can even use like the outside of that, you know, anything. Even, you know, it'd be really cute as an old quilt on the outside, and then you put fabric on the inside. That'd be really cool too. It has to just be thicker, a little bit thicker on the outside, or you will have to probably put some interfacing to make it stiff. So I wouldn't use a real thin fabric for the outside because it'll just kind of droop. So just remember, if you're going to do these with me, that's kind of the only rule, is making sure that your outside fabric is stiff enough to stand. Yes, it's humid here too, Anna, very humid. And we've been getting rain off and on. Like it's very, very weird. It's usually super dry by now, super hot and super dry down in South Texas. And so it got super hot. It's almost tropical, where we'll get up and it'll be okay, and then a storm just rolls in out of nowhere, and kaboom, and just a whole lot of noise, and then a quick downpour for like maybe 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, moves on. Half an hour later, the sun's out for the rest of the day. So I'm loving the fact that it's not super dry. These little bursts are really helping us. But yeah, I'm sorry, my computer over here is talking to me. Oh, that's the other thing that happened. So I forgot, running, doing all this, trying to iron everything and iron this so that it's ready to go. And I plug my iron in up here, and I forget I can't plug it into this one plug-in when I've got lights on in here. Blow fuse. So I had to run downstairs. Yep, another downstairs. Flip the fuse. Thankfully, I was already done ironing, but I'd lost most of my lights in the studio up here, in my office area up here. So I was like, you know, why am I not surprised? It's just one of those afternoons. And I know better to do it. I just didn't think, because where I do my ironing, the plug is right there, and I need to plug it in across. And it's just that the plug is hooked into the same fuse as all these, where the other plug is not. So I was like, the minute it happened, I was like, yep, forgot about that. All right, so let's get going. What I'm starting with, I didn't have exact measurements from the video that I watched, and it was just a video that was on Janome. I can't remember who to credit to. Let me see if I can find it real fast so I can at least give credit where credit is due. Okay, so on Instagram, if you go to the website Sew, S-E-W, Hungry Hippie, H-I-P-P-I-E, so at Sew Hungry Hippie. And the girl that owns that, her name is Natalie. And I just real quickly watched her video. There were no instructions. There were no dimensions given or anything. So what that means is you can do this with any size square, because it's a square that we start with. And she had 3 different sizes that nest. So she started with a big square, a medium square, and a small square. I'm starting with a 12 by 12 square. So my outside is cut 12 by 12. I cut my inside 13 by 13. And there's a reason for that, because I have to turn my hem, since it's not, it's going to fray. So I have to turn my hem. So I want to have a little room for that. And then I might also, if it works out, instead of putting it on the inside, I might turn it so that it's on the outside. So you see just a little tiny bit of it on the outside. So we'll see how that goes. So anyway, 12 by 12 for the outside. And then I always go an inch bigger if you're going to have to hem this so that it doesn't ravel. So then 13 by 13. If you want a bigger one, then you can always start, anything. 20 by 20, 18 by 18, 16 by 16, whatever, 15 by 15, whatever. So then what we do, and just going off of hers, the reason why I did 12 by 12 is I could just kind of tell how big her squares were, and then I could kind of gauge in between the squares how big it was. So I think hers that I was watching was a 12 by 12. So you're going to want your ruler, and you're going to want either scissors or your rotary cutter. And then you're going to need, obviously, your sewing machine, not a serger this time, a sewing machine. And you'll see why. Because the serger is not going to do what it normally does. It doesn't work for this. Hey, Zoe. All right. So let me get you up above now so that you can see. All right. So I love this little mat. And let me tell you guys, this is so funny. So you can see how thick this is. And this is just one I bought at Hobby Lobby, but you can get them anywhere. There's been times when I've been downstairs working and I have the big mat and I can't find my ruler, or I need an extra ruler, because sometimes when I'm measuring things, I'll measure across like this and I'll grab another ruler and place it here. And then when I pull this off, then I can just go zip. Well, if my other ruler is too far away, I grabbed this one time, perfect for my rotary, just as a gauge to cut up against. So I'm just letting you know, this one's thick enough you can do it, and it guides your ruler because it's every bit as thick or almost as thick as your ruler. So I think it might actually be as thick as this one. Pretty close. This one's just a little thinner. So anyway, I'm always doing goofy stuff like that. Alrighty, now the other thing that you're going to want is, I've got a pencil, so I'm going to probably mark these before I cut, just so you guys can see what we're doing. So we're going to cut a 3 by 3 out of each corner. So if you have a square ruler, it works really well. You know how those ones that are actually perfectly square, or if you have one of these rectangular ones, you can do it with these. I just find when I do them, when they're not like where I can actually see it, I screw it up. I will screw up my measurement every single time, at least once. So we're going to do a 3 by 3. Let's see if this is going to mark on here. Oh, good enough. Hope you guys can see that. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, so we're going to do this in each corner. And if you don't need to mark them and you can just go right ahead and cut and you feel confident, then go ahead and do that. If you want to go one step further, I'm just going to go ahead for the sake of showing everybody what we're doing here. Now, I have not made this ahead of time. When it comes to the sewing part, I just watched her video. So we will hopefully get the same outcome. All right, so I've got, as you can tell, each corner has the 3 by 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut those now with my cutter. And But always be really careful when you're using your cutter when you go into this corner that you don't overcut. In fact, a lot of times what I will do, and I've already nicked a brand new blade in the other day, and I've already nicked it. So I'm going to have to go in and fix it. But if you don't get it 100% to the corner, just take your scissor and go in and finish it off. That way, if you don't, you really don't want to overcut if you can help it. Because this is going to show, this is going to be the outside. Okay, so when you're done, then you'll have this. Now, she did it like this. So, and as you can see, I kind of did it on this side, but I'll be able to straighten that out. So we're going to do the same thing with the fabric piece too. Let's see. It's kind of needing to be trimmed anyway, so that works. Let's play that off. We're going to do the same thing with this. Now remember on this one though, if you cut it bigger, it's not going to be a 3x3. It's going to be, since you took a whole inch bigger, it's going to be 3.5 by 3.5. On this one, I think I'm just going to go ahead and roll it, just for the sake of time. Oh, sounds good, Nancy. I haven't had a cookie dough pop in a long time. I gotta keep working. When you're only right-handed, working that other direction sometimes doesn't work so well. All right, so then we've got this one. So it looks like an X or a plus when you're done. And then you just take it, fold it in half again. Well, that one didn't work out. Why didn't that one work out? What did I do? What did I do? Oh, you know what? I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to press this. And then it should work out. Okay, we might have to think about this one for a second. It should work out, though. I should be able to do this. I may have to do it a little bit different from the way she did. It's just that extra fabric width that I've got going on. So I'm going to have to mess with that for a second before we sew it. So we may be redoing, oh, you know what? Heck, did I cut one wrong? I cut one wrong. Am I talking? It looks like one's wider than the other. It is. Let me see what we got here. Oh, I cut that one just a touch wider. That's why. That's what happened. Got off by about a 1/4 of an inch. When I was cutting, I really must have moved. Yep, that's what happened. I really must have moved. Okay, so let's see. It's right here. Yep, I'm off by a 1/4 of an inch on that side. Okay, but we will deal with that in a second. Tell you, when I do that like that real fast, I screw it up. Now we got to set up the machine. Since I'm using vinyl, I have to put in a heavier duty needle. This one's lightweight. Okay, you guys have not seen this one. So I keep telling you about my Pfaff. Well, this is my Pfaff, and she lives in my house. I've had her for a really long time. But she's got the built-in walking foot, so I have a choice if I want it down or if I don't want it down. So when I deal with fabric, most of the time when I deal with anything, I always have it down. So, let's see. But it's right back here. And if you guys don't, it's right here. And it looks way different than, in fact, I'll show you guys, it looks way different than a walking foot that you're used to seeing that you attach. So you see this right here? It just comes down. Or you just pick it up. And only Pfaff has that because they own the either trademark rights or whatever to it. They call it the IDT technology, which don't ask me what it stands for. But I really love it because it does work just like a walking foot, but it's a little tiny foot. The only thing I hate is when I get it down, sometimes when I first start my fabric, it'll get stuck between the foot and this foot right here. And I have to stop, release it, so it releases my fabric, and then put it back down again. So I probably just need to start it and then put it down. But I've gotten so used to that always getting messed up that I never stopped to change the way I did something. Shayna, hey girl. All right, so let's get everything set up. It's been a while since I put a bobbin in this because I don't use it too often. It takes me a second to remember how this go in there. that one matches exactly. All right, so I need to change my needle real fast. So that's the only thing you got to remember. If you're dealing with something that's a little heavier, like canvas, a vinyl, you may have to go to like a size 14 or a 16 needle. You can't use your 12s. Those will not work. You'll break your needle right away, or it just won't sew right, and you'll just constantly be wondering why you're having issues with your stitch looking right, and it's because you need a bigger needle. All right, so the other thing then, I'm going to set my stitch at about 3.5. You can go, whatever you're used to. Just don't make it too terribly small because it could end up puckering these seams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew on the outside. I'm going to sew here and here, and then we're going to turn it and do the same thing with the others, okay? Oh, Marissa, yeah, they are textured. They're very textured. It's actually called a knockdown, if anybody's curious, because some of the textures have like that full out where it's kind of spiky, where this one, they go put it on, and then they go back with a trowel, and they knock down all that texture part, so it becomes really flat. So you just see this part, but when you run your hand over it, it's really, really smooth. I'm not a huge texture person. This was not my choice, but if I had to have one, I like the knockdown the best. And then make sure when you start these, you're going to do your backups so that you're securing your stitch in. So you want to lock your stitch in both at the start and at the end, because these are going to open up and stay like that. So you need them to be really secure. And I always put my needle down. If you have to put that setting in, you always want to do the needle down. That way, if you ever stop, your needle is down and nothing moves on you. And I usually give it a pretty good back stitch at the top too, because this is going to take some tension, because it's going to open and hold everything for you. Every now and then this machine will get an extra thread in there when I'm sewing. Where that comes from. And these would make really cool, you can make big ones too, to hold like your fabrics or anything in your sewing room, or your bathrooms, in a kid's room. And if you don't want to line them, you don't have to. I'm just going to do that. Okay, so when I open it, see, it's going to sit. It's already starting. So now we're going to take the other sides, and I'm just going to put them together as well. and sew that. See how easy that bigger needle just cuts through that vinyl, just like you're sewing through cotton. And if you feel the need to use the clips, you can use the clips to hold those together. Don't feel like you don't have to. Okay, so this is actually what it's going to look like, and then we're just going to put the lining in. So if you like it like this, you would be done. And you could just leave it, but I just don't like this inside of this vinyl is like this. Otherwise, I'd be fine with it. I just don't like the look of it, but I may have to deal with it for right now because I don't know if I screwed this up bad enough by that 1/4 of an inch or not, but we'll see. Okay, so now I got to figure this out. I've got to go back and change my needle again. So remember, if you've changed your needle to vinyl and you're going back to cotton, change it back again. But you saw how great that went through there? I didn't even struggle with it. And I also was using that walking foot, which did help. I can't tell you how old this little plastic box is. It's one of those nostalgia things. So, and it's always had this little broken hinge, but I found this in my mom's sewing stuff when I was growing up, and it's always had this broken hinge on it. And so I've always used it, and it's always done that, but it's always held needles. She had the needles in it, her extra needles, and so I've just continued to use it because I'm used to going through looking for the needles. So I don't know how old this thing is. You can't even hardly tell the brand. That I'm sure it was probably for needles at one point in time, or it might have held bobbins or a little tiny sewing kit or something way back when. Hey, Juana, I missed you coming on. Sorry. Oh, you're going to go live later on tonight, Z? Okay, cool. I'm not working tomorrow, so I'm going to try and stay awake and come watch. All right, let me see if I can figure this out now. Which side did I mess up again? This one. All right, I think to fix this, I'm going to make them all 3, all 1/4 of an inch bigger. And that's the only way I'm going to be able to fix it. So we will see. I need to mark which one it is when I find it again. It's right here. It's this one. Yep, right there, 3 3/4. It should work just fine. I do this so much. You would think I'd get really good at not doing it anymore. I think I'm getting better at screwing it up every time. So I'm just taking my white pencil and making sure that that 1/4 of an inch is accounted for all the way. It's one good thing though about using this houndstooth, hook's tooth. Makes it easy to kind of see straight across, so I can make this real fast without having to measure too many times. So everybody have a good weekend. I'm still enjoying my couple of days off, trying to get ready for market. I've gotten a lot done yesterday. It was really good. I didn't even realize I was up as late as I was, and I was trying to get to a certain point before I went to bed, and I think I finally quit at about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was just power watching like some movies and stuff. So there really was no way for me to even tell what time it was by what I was watching even. And so when I quit, I knew it was late. So I wasn't quite sure where I was at on time there, whether it was, I was thinking it was about midnight. So I probably could have kept working. I was just so energized at that point. The dog was snoring on the couch downstairs, so I figured it was time to go to bed. All right, and then you're able to tell, see if this works, because you should be able to fold this the way we folded that other one. And that's how I knew right away I was off, is because it wasn't folding and giving me what I was looking for. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second if you didn't catch it the first time. In fact, this was kind of good because I was off just a little bit everywhere. Okay, there we go. There we go. No, I'm still off. What the heck? Why am I still off? Man, I'm off that whole inch. Why am I off? That makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. I am off. Let's see if it's going to make a difference. I'm just going to go ahead and sew it up. It's gonna. I know what it's going to do, and it's gonna be more of a rectangle than a square. But just to show you guys, kind of what the lining's like, I totally messed that up. Totally, completely messed it up. And it should have worked regardless because I was dealing with a square still. I don't know what I did. We'll go ahead and just do this. first. I already know what it's going to do. It's still going to be okay. It's just that one side's going to be a little bit longer than the other, so it's going to be more of a rectangle than a square. So it's still going to be okay. It's just, I now have a rectangle. And what I want it to do is to sit inside here, which it'll still kind of work. We can make it work. It's not too much of a difference, so it'll be fine. Actually, it fits okay. It fits just fine. Now, what I would do then at this point, as you see, you've got your inside and your outside. So you can see how you have your outside edges. This is why I say you can't use a serger. And then when you put the one on the inside, I just layered it in there exactly with the outside seam facing the outside seam so that it's finished on the inside. So what I want to do now is I'm going to, since these have has that kind of an edge, it's kind of cool because you can kind of see how it's a little frayed, and it's not a problem because this is the type of fabric that I can do this with. What I would do to finish this off is I'm going to just tack it down and then sew it along here so that you can see it. But if you don't want it to show, then I would just turn a seam so that it's like that, and then go ahead and put your clips there, go all the way around, and then when you go to sew it, it's finished. If you guys can hear my cat, that's Mocha. She has this stuffed lobster that's about this big, and that poor lobster, it dies like 5 times a day, 6 times a day, and whenever she kills it, she does that meow. And she'll sit there and just meow and meow and meow and meow for the longest time. And every time I go to see what she's doing, that lobster's at her feet. And I'm like, okay, you killed the lobster again. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Sandra. Hey, Mary. So anyway, these are such cute little things. And I don't have my clips up here. Just to store things in, but can't you see how easy it would be to make really big ones for your kids? Do I have my clips? Oh, I do have my clips. I do have my clips. I was going to say, I thought I left some up here. Okay, I can finish this. We can finish this. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and tuck it in because it doesn't seem to want to be on the outside like I was hoping. And that's all right. I'm okay with that too. Just tuck it in. And I'll have to go change my needle again. Put my vinyl needle back on. And make sure you keep putting your hand, when you're doing this, put your hand in so that you keep flattening it out. That way you're not turning too much fabric. Or if you put something in there heavy, it'll end up pulling on the side because it's not all the way down to the bottom. But can't you see doing these like with Christmas materials too and putting them under your Christmas tree? Or whatever, you know, you could put your cards in them as you get them, or hold anything, gifts or whatever. And if you didn't want to sew this, if you had made the outside out of, say, something like this vinyl, I could go in with a fabric glue or even hot glue and probably just hot glue it. But right now I've got it sitting like that. Now I'm going to double check one more time that I've got all my fabric where I need it to be, and I don't need to make any adjustments. I want to put a couple more clips in. Things are going to come apart. I could see making these also out of burlap and maybe using them for decorations outside somewhere. If you have some place that you put like pumpkins or whatever in the fall, that would be really cute. Hey, Sarah. Sarah, I haven't forgot about you. We're gonna do the quilt along yet again this week. I thought I was gonna get to it while I was home the last couple of days, and market prep kind of took over because I really needed to get that at least started. That's gonna be 3 weeks out as of yesterday, and that time is gonna go so fast. Needed to at least get a little bit of a jump on some things. All right, so I'm just going to sew right along the top edge all the way around. Now, when I get to this point, what I might do is just stop and then restart over on this edge because I don't want to flatten this down by sewing it all around. So I'm going to start and stop at each edge, which is actually going to probably make it a little easier to sew. And I have to lay everything flat, and I probably do have to remove a clip because that could be in the way of me backing up. It's looking like, maybe not. Yeah, and this machine's just old enough. I don't have the thread cutter on this one, so cutting all my threads. Tell these scissors are just a little bit dull. These are those ones that I love that have the real sharp tip, but it should have cut it that very first time and it didn't. It just kind of munched at it a little. Yeah. But they're so cheap. If you get them on Amazon, they're like $8 or $9, so you can get, you can replace these if you ever get them to be dull. This is the first pair I ever bought, and I think I bought these a couple years ago, and they're just now getting dull, and I've cut leather and all kinds of stuff with them. So, I can't complain. They was lasting quite a while, but if you did have to replace them a little more often, they're still fairly inexpensive. I've seen them way more than that in other places. So if you see them for like $13, $14, no, don't spend that. They're only like $8 or $9 if you either catch them at the right place or catch them on sale. I've never paid more than that for them. You could even probably make these out of cardboard or paper and just glue for a little kid project if you wanted to do something with your kids. Yeah, for being off, this is working okay. My seams are not where they're supposed to be. Only I know that. Nobody would ever notice by looking at it that I was off just a little. That inside fabric. All right, there it is. So now I've got a little box. And I'll probably put this as, I love these for, like, granted I've got my container for all these clips, but I love these little things on my sewing, around me for sewing, for when I'm just doing things real quick and maybe I don't have that container right by me. And so if I have several of these around, I can just dump like my scissors in there, my little things like these in there, my needles, anything, pins. If I'm sewing in a hurry and don't want to take time to go grab something else, if I have these around, then I can take them afterwards and go and deposit everything where it's supposed to be and get organized again. Nice little catch-all for the moment. So, but you see how the fabric has to have some stiffness for the outside. Oh, Mia, I missed you. Hey, okay. Thanks for stopping by, Mia. Hey, Mary Beth. That's funny, Mia. No, I'm glad you were able to join us. Oh, thanks, Joanne. So anyway, I saw this last week real quick, and I was like, this is super easy. So I'm just going to show you guys real quick how to do this. And you never know, going into the holidays, all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh yeah, how do we do those again? That would be really helpful for whatever you're thinking of at that moment. But again, like I said, you can do it on paper, you can do it on anything. Yes, top and bottom even. You sure could. You can do anything with these, Angela. That's what I loved about them. You can use these as great little craft things for your kids and just let them decorate it all up with all kinds of whatever, glitter, glue, buttons, trim, anything, and let them make their own little, maybe it's a little wish box or, you know, whatever. So I just saw that you guys could really do a lot of things with these. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun little quick project. And then you got to see my girl that I talk about every now and then. Oh, that's okay, Anna. Bye, Anna. So now I'm going to switch over to sewing bummies and we can talk. Try to get everything back where it's supposed to go. And for those of you that didn't hear, I got my sublimation printer. That's what this is. And it's the Epson 2720 for now. I'm doing a lot of experiments at the moment and just trying out everything from my labels to some ideas that I had. And I've only had one screw up, and that was my own fault. And that was with me and the heat press. I didn't quite get something on right where it was, and I knew that I needed to realign it up, and I was in a hurry and just didn't take my time, and so it was completely off. No big deal. I knew I was probably going to screw it up by doing that. And I did. All right, grab my serger. Making sure everything's where it's supposed to be. I had a towel on top of this because my cat loves to chew on this thread. So that's why this is all kind of messed up a little bit, because the towel grabs everything when you pull it off. There we go. All right, now we can make bummies. So those of you that are wanting to make bummies and maybe wanted to watch again and again and again, well, we're going to do them again and again and again. I think I have like 50 some pairs to make right now. Not that I'm going to do them all tonight, but like I said, I've got a lot to do. So we'll just be making bummies here. Let's see. Making sure my towel didn't screw anything else up when we're at it. And those of you that don't know, this is the Juki MO654DE. I've had this one for probably 5 or 6 years. Love, 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 love this. It sews through anything and everything. And I never, ever have to slow down to go across the seam or anything. So just saying, if some of you are looking to either upgrade or maybe just want to go up to something that has a little bit more power, because this is kind of borderline industrial commercial. It's only about $100 more than the Brother. And I know the Brother is awesome. I just know some people I've talked to have said it doesn't go over seams as well, that they tend to have to slow down or clog up a seam a little bit. So I was just telling you guys, this one does not do that. I've never, ever had a problem with it going across something. In fact, when I heard that about the Brother, I was like, that's a thing? I didn't know that was something that could happen. Good to know. So, but I'd cut, so remember last week, for those of you that were watching, I was telling you how I go and cut everything out, cut out like full size run, and then put it in its own container so that I know what size I'm doing, and I'm just going to sit down and sew one size and then put them all back in the container so that when I go to iron in my labels, I know that I've got my sizes correctly, and I can just sit and do all my one size on my labels all at one time. I don't know why I've got a tickle all of a sudden too, sorry. But sure helps with making sure that you're getting everything right. And I'm going to do some chain piecing on the sewing. So that's what I'm setting up here. And then obviously these are all a little bit wrinkled from just the fabric being folded funky. So we'll do a final pressing at the very end. Sometimes what I do too is if I've got a whole bunch of them that are really, really, really wrinkled when I'm done, I'll just quick like pop them in a hot dryer for probably about 30 seconds or so, just to release as much of those wrinkles as I can. But it's not going to affect anything because you're not doing it long enough to shrink anything or whatever. It'll release the wrinkles, and when I go to do the final pressing, I can just press everything out really, really fast. Saves so much time. So those of you that aren't familiar with chain piecing, it's a way to quick like sew through some things without having to stop and cut threads in between. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this. I'm going to pick up the next one. Just making sure I've got everything. Oh, I don't. Just make sure everything's together the right way. I was talking and I put that one together. It didn't look right. And I was right. It wasn't right. So then you go to the next one, pick it up. I have not cut the thread. Put it back under. And when you get good at this, you won't even have to stop and pick up your foot feed. You'll just pick up the next one and just kind of put it in there while you're still sewing. But I'm just taking my time to show you guys. So then what I would do is have this next one right here, and I would just pick it up and just keep going. And then I'd have a whole bunch of them just laying out there in a row. So I would just constantly just keep going. But I only did 3 of each size. So then you go back and just cut those apart, and you start over on the other side and do it again. Mary, it's all the bummies. I'm getting market prep ready. So I've cut out a ton. The bummy pattern that we did the sew along for a couple months ago. And I'm doing them by size right now because I've got them cut out and put in baskets by size so that I don't get everything all mixed up until I can get the tags on them. Oh, thanks, Juana. You were right, Mary. Again, I did the chain piecing, and I will just go back and cut and cut. And I could keep on with even like all the cuffs. I could have just kept right on going, and I probably will as I start getting going on this. But I'm just showing you guys how this is working so far. So I could do, turn all of these, get them prepared, and do all the tops and the cuffs at the same time as well. Yep, Mary. It won't take you long to save money because they're not that terribly expensive. I think this one that I've got is 350, 375, somewhere in there. So, and I know the brothers are probably about 200, 225, 250, somewhere in there as well. So it won't take you very long. All right, and then I can do the same thing with doing this bottom seam. Now remember, these are curves, and so you need to get really used to sewing on curve. And take it slow until you learn it. It's just everybody's had to have practice. Nobody came at it naturally. It's just a new feeling. That's all it is. So, Mary, did you miss that? That here's mine, my sublimation. I saw you had yours out and ready to go. So then, again, the chain piece. And right now, I'm cutting these apart because I don't have to worry about going back and threading them through yet. So my thread can be shorter because I'm going to come back around with the leg pieces that go on here. That's when I'm going to watch how long I leave my thread so that I can thread those back through. So they are secured down permanently. Questioning the size of this. Grab the right one. Just seems. I was cutting so late last night, I could have thrown the wrong ones into the wrong bin. That's why I'm questioning it. Okay. They are just a touch shorter. Okay, that's probably right because it is the one size lower than that. I know last night I caught myself that I was starting to mess a few up. That's what I get for watching a movie while I'm doing that. And I should have completely moved everything completely away, and except the one that I was dumping into, and I did not. My bad. Oh, night, Sandra. Here, I'm trying to look at comments. Oh no, Sarah. Yeah, that would scare me too. I have not done that with my serger. Yeah. Hopefully you didn't wreck your blade too badly. It's the only thing. And for those of you who have missed, I'm going to show you a little trick. Let me show that to you real quick. Because I know I read a couple of people the last week or so say that they had serged something and they screwed up, and they were like, oh man, it was a pain to go rip out. And it is, unless you know the trick. And I accidentally figured out the trick. So your serger, your serger seam looks like this, right? Get it to focus. Come on, focus. Anyway, what I did once, just as a test, was I went and laid this down on my cutting mat, took my rotary blade and my and my ruler. And I literally just real carefully laid my ruler, so all I would cut is this top edge of stitches. So you're only cutting here, literally right up there. So if you take like a 32nd of an inch of the fabric off, you've probably cut it all off. And then when you've got that cut, you just go in and find the one thread that pulls it all completely out. And I was shocked. I was like, how many times have I gone and ripped this out stitch by stitch, and it was that easy? And I couldn't believe I thought to try that one time. I was like, you know, let me just see if that works. And it did. So I'm telling you guys, don't kill yourself with ripping this out. Cut that top part off and then find that one thread, and it just pulls out. Super easy. Yeah, that's good, Sarah, because I would be terrified. I would have killed my knife. And there'd be a big old nick in my knife. You know how on your rotary, like I did on mine, if you accidentally, I hit the plastic ruler, and I know I did that last night because I didn't realize I was cutting on the ruler and not on down. I just had caught it just right. And now I've got just a little tiny nick right here, and I can see it on my blade. And so now that part never cuts through on my fabric. And I was so bummed because I just put this blade in. It was brand new. So I'm just dealing with it for now to try and get the use out of the blade. But yeah, I could not believe I did that. I was like, try so hard not to screw it up. But I did get those blades off of Amazon. They're titanium and they're supposed to stay sharper longer. They were like really nice when I was first using it before I nicked it. It was really, really, really nice. Better than just the plain silver ones, and they weren't any more expensive. So yeah, I highly recommend those. Just double checking that I didn't screw it up. Because I want to do the chain piecing on this and just really boogie. Yeah, Mary, yours looks like it's floating on shelves. Actually, it looked fine where it was at in the picture. Oh, that would be pretty, Mary. And then yeah, she can play later on in the evening, and you don't have to worry about, is the dress going up too far? Yeah. I think the bummies will be perfect for underneath, you know, the dresses like that for flower girls and whatever. Even just school, if they want to wear it to school instead of like wearing shorts like we used to do. So while I'm doing this, then I can go, if I don't want to drop everything back in there because I've got extra in here that I've got to go down through, I can throw like all my little cuffs in here so that I've got a place that they're not going to land like accidentally on the floor with the fan on or something. This is what I use stuff like this for. It's so perfect. Plus, I like that it's squishable, so it'll fit no matter where you put it. Unless you're not like me and try and squish everything all into one small space. Oh, that'll be really cute, Mary. I got Cosmos ink, and there was a lot of reasons for that, Joanne. First of all, they took this printer and actually showed you step by step how to convert it. So you could watch that with any ink, basically. So they'll walk you through every step. And then they created the ink specifically for the Epson printers. And you know how you're reading, or maybe you haven't read this yet, that some people are saying that certain brands of ink are clogging their Epson after a while, and they didn't realize that's what it was. And so they ended up either having to really purge it well or do a massive cleaning or something on it. Well, since they make the ink specifically for the Epson printer, whatever they do to it, I don't know, but he said it won't clog it. And so I was like, that's what I want. And then he also sends you, after you buy the ink, he sends you a file that is the color profile. And he has another video that shows you how to install that onto your software that you use it in. And he shows you step by step how to get there, how to put it in there, how to set it up, everything. And so your profiles will match. So after I saw all that, I'm like, I have to go use those inks. I just have to. It only makes sense. So that's what I'm using for now. Yeah, they're just a little more expensive. But I also saw on the website, and I haven't tried this out, but I'm going to. I just wanted to order the first set. You can buy wholesale if you have a tax-exempt certificate. So I'm going to try that next time. And even if it saves me 10%, that'll, pay for 10%. So I want to see how much I can get off for that, because, if we're using this for our businesses, why not? Why not buy in a wholesale environment if we can? Yeah, I've heard that that's good too, Mary. So there's just there is so many opinions out there as to what ink is best and why they use it. And I really don't think that there's, the top three that you see, they're all good. I don't think and the Haipu is one of them. That's a very good one. So I don't think you're going to go wrong with any of them. I just chose to go this route for my reasons, and I'm sure you guys all have your own reasons for using what you use, and there's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, as long as it works. It's on their YouTube, Joanne. So if you go over to Cosmos Ink YouTube channel, he has how to set up your sublimation printer. I think there's 2 videos on that. And the first video is how to convert this one. And it would probably work for pretty much any Epson Echo Tank, because the steps will be pretty much the same as you're seeing. So I literally had his YouTube going while I had my screen below, and I would stop, and then I'd get to where he was at, and then I'd watch a little more or go with him. And then if he got ahead of me, I'd stop the video and catch up. So it was so easy. It was just like having somebody pretty much clicking the mouse for me. It was so awesome. Yep, that's just it, Yeah, Mary, I get it. Oh, okay, cool, Z. That'll work great, because that's 9 p.m. my time. So that's 2 hours yet. So cool. Yeah, I will be well done by then. I'm just going to be sitting up here sewing all these bummies this whole night while we're all doing our lives.
Yeah, everybody is moving up to 15,000 as well. I wanted the 15,000, and the only reason I didn't get it, well, actually, there's two reasons why I didn't get it straight out of the gate. First of all, I got this one for 1/3 the price of the 15,000. So I thought, I'm trying to get into this as cheap as I can for the moment. And then if everything goes the way I'm hoping it goes, not only am I going to upgrade this, but I obviously have to upgrade my heat press. But I also saw a way to do that. I want to test it first. I saw one video on how to make a small heat press work for and a small sublimation printer work for bigger jobs, and it was perfect. So I'm going to test it, and if I can get it to do it and it works really well, I'll do a video on it as well and pass the information on to you guys, and then I'll give kudos to the person who actually the original video was. So if you guys wanted to go over and watch his video again too, you could. But yeah, it was ingenious the way he did it and so easy. But if this goes the way I want it to, then I may upgrade to a 24-inch wide and then get the heat press accordingly. And then I'll still use this one for like all my labels and everything, because my labels are always still going to be 8.5 by 11 or smaller. So this will always be my label printer regardless. So I knew out of the gate 8.5 by 11 was going to be fine and temporary, but still this is not going to be obsolete, because if I do get the 24-inch, I don't want to have to keep switching out my paper to print labels. So I would want my second sublimation printer anyway. So I just kind of decided that's the way I'm going to go for now. And let's get this going down the road and upgrade accordingly as everything starts working out. So there. So I got all those tubes done that quickly too. So now I'm just going to keep moving on to my next color, and I'm not going to stop and put anything together. That's all going to be a part of, this is all process sewing, guys. So I'm kind of trying to show you how process sewing really looks. I keep seeing her cutting off my head here, but there's a method to the madness. And so if you do the same things over and over and over and get those done and then move on to the next step and do those over and over and over, it's actually faster. And you might fiddle with the very first couple, but then as you keep sewing and doing the chain sewing and going, you're not fiddling anymore. It just flows for you. It is hard to find that 15,000. Yeah, and they were all over the board for pricing. Yeah, and I saw that, Joanne, at Costco, and I got mine on Target.com. It was $1.99, and they sent it out the next day. I was shocked. Everywhere else I was looking, short of going to like Costco or Sam's, and I don't have a membership. I was going to have to find somebody that did if I absolutely had to. Other than that, everything else was notify me when available, and I kept going through the checkout with Target going, I'm waiting for it to pop up, Never did. And then so I went through with the sale, and I did not order my ink or anything, because I'm like, okay, last time everything went through, and then my sale got canceled 3 weeks later because they couldn't fulfill my order. So I was like, I'm waiting. And 24 hours later, I got my shipping notice that they're shipping it out, and they gave me the tracking number. And I was like, okay, still not believing. So I waited until I could actually see it was totally en route. I could get on the tracking number and see it had gone from at least point A to the next point, and it was en route before I really believed that it was coming. And I ordered then my ink and my paper and everything, because I didn't want to order all of that just in case I wanted to change up my mind if I ended up getting a different printer and I needed to get a different ink for some reason, and I was stuck with ink. So I couldn't believe it. I had it probably 3 to 5 days later. I was shocked. I was like, wow, that took a lot to find it. Good. That's good to know, Juana. I've heard really good things about this 2720. That it's just a workhorse and it keeps on going. The one thing I do know, and I've just been reading this everywhere, I have not turned this off, and I probably won't. They didn't tell me that, but I won't. And they also say make sure you print something every day. So it doesn't even have to be, you know, a page of whatever you're going to sublimate. You could go in and just put a piece of paper in and do a nozzle check, which will just print off, you know, the lines and a few things. But you've got to keep that ink flowing. So I haven't printed yet today, but I also heard it do its little maintenance thing. And then also when my fuse blew and this turned it off and I turned it right back on 5 seconds later, it did kind of that nozzle check thing. I'm still going to print on it tonight, but just letting you guys know, that's what they say. You need to print something every day. Otherwise it may clog or dry up on you. Oh, Joanne, I didn't get it at Target store. I got it on target.com. So yeah, it shipped from wherever their main warehouse was. Yeah, because if you go to the Target store, even online, and try and pick it up, it'll say it can't, that it's not there, that it has to ship. And that's why I was like, oh, I'm not buying that this is actually going to happen. But it did. It came straight from whatever warehouse, and it went out right away. Wow, Mona, that's amazing, because yeah, I was having a real hard time finding the 15,000, and then when I was finding it, it wasn't even 3 times this price. It was like 4 or 5 times that price, and I was like, no, it's not worth that. So I just kind of kept waiting, and then I thought, when I finally got this for the price that I had originally seen it at, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to run with this one for now, and that'll get me through however, you know, long until I make the next move. But I think from that video that I saw, I think this one can get me quite a ways before I really feel like, okay, I'm busy enough that this now is taking too long to do this process and I need to move up. And by then, it'll make sense. Okay, that's good to know, Marissa. I'm just worried that if it clogs, I'm going to be so upset. So that's why I'm thinking I might just print something every day and just kind of space out what I need to do. So print even just 1 page a day. And that way I'm ahead of the game, and I'll, you know, because they'll keep, once you've printed the pages, they'll keep. And then that way also, when I'm ready to go do like all my labels, I've got everything and I can just boom, knock them out as fast as possible. I'm also going to try and do my yarn labels on here on paper. I'm really excited to see if I can't make them look a little crisper than doing them through the printer, because my labels through the printer are done just on cardstock. And if I can do it on the cardstock that has a really nice slick finish, because there's one I'm thinking about that has a frost finish to it, and it's a different slickness than just a regular cardstock. And I tried printing on that, and it didn't print super well, but I thought, because I was in love with that for my labels. It just really took my labels to the next level. If I can get them to print really vibrant on that, oh my goodness, I am going to be so ecstatic. So that's my next thing I got to go get. I used up all of that cardstock. I got to go grab some and see if I can't make that happen. Yes, there is polyester knit, Mary. Yep, it's not an unusual thing to find. In fact, you probably don't realize you've been buying it or touching it, because it feels very similar to cotton. A lot of times you don't even know that you're dealing with a polyester knit when you touch it. It's not like that old, when you think of that grandma polyester knit that grandma always wore, had her pants, and back in the day when they had like the matching top and it was a little pantsuit thing. I don't know if anybody else's grandma wore that, but my grandma loved that thing. And I'd be like, Grandma, I understand. It's comfortable, easy to wash. Don't have to think about it twice. The top of the pants mix and match, and they're great. But I'm like, that just looks hot. But she loved it. But no, that was a whole different kind of polyester. It was really super thick. This stuff feels almost like cotton. The ones that I've been seeing. In fact, Spoonflower has one. And I got a sample box of all their fabrics so that if I ever ordered from them, I would know right away which fabric I wanted. Because sometimes some are so similar and you're like, I really wish I had that because you didn't want it to be like this or like that. Well, by having that, then I'm able to really make some decisions on the fly. So they also had that polyester knit, and it was so thin. Like this thin, to the point where you could almost, with this you can't see through, that one you could see through. And I was like, no, that's good to know. I didn't like that. And their ounce weight, I don't get. Their ounce weight on their fabrics match what some of these other ounce weights are that I'm sewing with that are much heavier. And I don't know where they're getting the ounce weight for the knits, because it's a much thinner, lighter knit. I'm a little confused. So that's why I was really glad I ordered that, so that I would know what I was dealing with if I ever go to use them. And then for those of you that don't know, Mia opened up her her fabric store this last week. And she's got pre-orders going on right now for another week. And to get in on the pre-order, everything's 20% off. It's on her website. And I don't know how long it's going to take to get. She might have put it on there. I just didn't pay any attention. But yeah, go check it out. She has some of the best prints, guys. And her Minky is 70 inches wide. So it's amazing. It's amazing stuff. So just letting you guys know, if you hadn't noticed that, it's fabricbomb.com. And go search it out. Make sure you hit shop all fabrics, because when you open it up, it'll just say like fall, winter, and holiday fabrics. And that's not all of them. She's just got those up front because it's going into August, and that's what most people are going to be looking for. But if you go up into her menu and hit shop all fabrics, then there's a whole bunch of others in there as well for prints. She's got like 20 prints, and you can order any of those prints in 5 different fabric bases. It's like Spoonflower does. So she's got a Minky, she's got a bullet, cotton, organic cotton actually, a jersey, and a fleece. So she's got some really good options there. Yvette, I forgot to put it in my description because I'm an affiliate. So I will drop that into the description at the end once I'm done with this live. And then you can go into the description part of this video and the link will be right there for you. And I'm going to put that permanently in every one of my videos. It's also going to be over on my Facebook page. So you can always, if you don't know or can't remember, you can always go click through that link, but I am going to be an affiliate for her. So I'm really excited. Her stuff is so pretty. Yeah, I realized that actually when I went to go live, and it had already given the notice that I was up, and I was like, oh, I thought I put that link in there and I hadn't. So I felt bad. So I definitely want to go back and do that for her and get that put up, because I really swear I put it in there, and I must have only put it in the one and not in the main area that it automatically defaults in on every single video. So yep, I need to step back and go do that. And Mia, I saw she just responded. So if you guys have any questions for her, she is on. If you have any quick questions, she's probably going to be more than happy to answer them for you. Oh, and Mia, how long, once the pre-order is closed, I know you gave us a window on about how long you thought it would take. I know you don't know exactly. Put that up there and let the girls just kind of know. I'm guessing it's going to be like 2 months. Am I right on this first one? Oh, yeah. Awesome. That's cool. Yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot in your brain that you want to get into fabric. I have no doubt on that. But she's sending me out fat quarters, guys. So as soon as I get the fat quarters, I'm going to do a real quick video and show you guys. We got to choose, each one of us that became an affiliate got to choose what print we wanted on the fabric that she has. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see that. And then I was also thinking I'm going to try and figure out something I can make out of this fat quarter so I can show you guys. And we might even do videos on me actually sewing with that into from the fat quarter into whatever it is, so that you can see right away how the fabric is, how it sews up, how it drapes, all of that. So I thought about that last night. I'm like, I really got to come up with something I can make real fast. And there's a lot of stuff I can do with fat quarter. I just haven't really wrapped my brain around it yet. But I'll get there. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait to see you grow. Oh, I was gonna bring up, and I totally forgot, and I'm not gonna leave you guys. So remember that purse that I showed you guys that we did the drafting of the pattern off of, a week or two ago? Well, I finally got the fabric for it, and I left it downstairs. It was so cool. I ordered it off of Hawthorne, and which is kind of like Swingflower and kind of not. But I was so excited to get it. Totally forgot. And it's just literally laying right downstairs on my countertop because I got it in the mail yesterday. Your photography was so good too, Mia. That website was perfect, spot on. And I know that was a lot of work. It's a good job. A lot of people don't know just how much work it is to go putting a website together. Oh my goodness, it's so much work. Oh yeah, these scissors are definitely not as sharp as they used to be. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Mia. Sarah, Spoonflower is huge like Etsy. I think it's one of those where you can't gauge if something is not successful right out of the gate. You have to give it quite a bit of time because maybe people haven't found it yet. They've got to do the right search terms, they've got to do a lot of things. So I really would liken it to Etsy, where you have to put the work into being found. And you have to have, like we say with Etsy, you need to get so many items in your shop, not only for it makes the customer, when they do find you, have a lot to look at, but I bet also there are logarithms maybe are based on how many items you've got in your shop too, possibly. I know Etsy's kind of is. And there's a lot of things to that. So don't feel like you're not having success right now, because I think it's still too early. I really do. I think, in a year from now, if you've been working it super hard, like you work Etsy, and you feel like you're not getting feedback or you're not getting what you think you're getting, then maybe that one design that you're questioning, that you don't feel is as successful, maybe you're right. But it also could be maybe not now, maybe in a year or in 2 years, all of a sudden that design is hot. And who knows why? Because colors, because style, because your shop got found, because who knows? So there's just so many factors. And I know it's hard to not have that thought, but it kind of goes back to, we're so, as a society, used to getting instant feedback, instant gratification. And Etsy and I bet Spoonflower are those kinds of platforms. Etsy is specifically, instant gratification does not usually happen. Those that do have an instant success, very unusual. Very, very, very unusual for that to happen. Oh my goodness, Mary, you're making me hungry. I love blueberries. And then blueberry jam. Oh my goodness. I've got this cherry blueberry, I don't even know what you call it. It's not really, it's not a jam, it's not a jelly. So you buy it at the store and it's the pure fruit, and then they just put the pectin or whatever in to make it gel up, and there might be some sugar in it but not a whole lot, but it's mainly just the fruits, and then there's just a little bit of like the juice and whatever that will kind of solidify, I don't know if you want to call it solidify, but anyway, becomes that jelly jam part. And it's one that our local grocery store here makes, called HEB. It's one of their brands, and it is to die for. And the cherries are big, the blueberries are huge, and I mean, you can literally just eat it out of the jar. It is so good. And so then you start talking about that, and I get so hungry for that, because I've got some down in my refrigerator, and I love to put it on like waffles or toast. It's just perfect for that. But I'm sure I could probably incorporate it in some other things. I just haven't figured that out yet. Maybe a preserve, Mary. Yeah, I think they have something they call it on the label, and I don't know. I know there's a word for it. It's like a pure fruit, whatever, compote. I don't know. Preserve might be the right word too. Oh, true, Mia. Yes, yes. Oh, okay, cool, Mia. Good to know. Yes, Sarah, keep designing, keep posting them, and keep blasting them all over social media. and just let people know that you're there. Keep showing even your past prints every now and then. Just kind of revisit them in between all your new ones that you are designing. And it's not going to take long for people to find you, but they probably don't know you're there yet. So don't be so hard on yourself. You're all right. I bet you will have some success once people start finding you. They nicked the corner on this one, and it's kind of confusing me a little bit. So I saw another post today for my farmer's market that I'm going to, and I'm getting more and more and more excited. These guys have so much going on there, and they are advertising it. They are they have all kinds of kids activities. They are incorporating it with back to school, so they're giving away back to school supplies. They are having all the schools in the area. They're going to have all the principals there so the people can meet and greet the principals. They're going to have other school things going on, performances, dunking booths, characters. Man, there was a list of about 20 or 30 things. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And I'm starting to read some of the comments on there, and people are like, oh my gosh, this is such a good farmer's market. And people are like, we love this market. And then they're sharing with people going, yo, so-and-so, we need to go to this, and I'm going, so you need to join me. And I'm like, how did I not know about this farmer's market till I just kind of Googled it? Because it's literally like 15 miles from me. How did I know that it was such a big deal? So I don't know if maybe it's just because post-COVID they're making it more of an event than it was before COVID. I don't know. Or whether it was always like this and I just had no clue. But wow, this is just motivating me more and more and more to really be ready. And then they listed all the types of things they're going to have, like for vendors, you know, and they were going down the list. And about fourth on the list was boutique clothing. And I'm like, yes, we were kind of towards the top. So I don't know how many other vendors will be doing boutique clothing. I'm sure there's going to be more than just me. I can't imagine I'm the only one. Why would I be? So I really hope that this is just everything I'm reading it's going to be. If nothing else, it's going to make an awesome video to do for you guys. And we'll have a whole lot of fun talking to people and just seeing what's going on. Make sure I'm not missing some conversations here. Yeah, and if I'm missing, if you guys are asking me questions and I'm missing it, please let me know. Please ping me again, or somebody repeat it for me, or just kind of yell at me in comments and say, yo, comment over here. I didn't get my setup quite as well. I should have put you, I've got 2 screens here, and I should have put you on the closer screen. Now I know next time, because I had you on the closer screen the other time and it was so much better and you're a little bit further away. So I have to keep kind of going forward to see it. Even though the screen's big, it's still like harder to read your comments from way over here. I'm really glad that this sewing is going much faster than the cutting did. I'm always so careful when I'm cutting stuff out. And I know it took me longer than it probably needed to, but it was also this, some of this knit, how do I describe this for you non-knitting people? It is done in a fashion, and there's different ways to do knit fabric, but the way this knit fabric was done is a term that in knitting we call stockinette knitting. It's a stockinette stitch. And so it has one stitch on the front, but a different stitch on the back. I know it's hard to understand, but it's what the one stitch produces on the front and that same stitch produces on the back. So by doing that stitch, then you get this front and back thing going on. Well, by doing that stitch, it creates it to roll. And so anytime you're fighting with some of this knit and it keeps wanting to roll on you, you're not going to be able to iron it out. You're not going to be able to do anything unless you make it wet and to get it to lay flat, because you're fighting that stitch. And that's what this fabric is. And I have others like this one is not that. This is the same stitch on the front and the back. So it does not want to roll. And it makes it so much easier to cut. So I know that's what was slowing me way down, is I was fighting this rolling fabric. So yeah, don't be discouraged if that's going on. It's nothing you're doing wrong. It is the fabric. And you just have to work your way through it. There is no fix for it. I know, Angela, they are. Her prints are beautiful, aren't they? She does such a beautiful job. I know she's going to be successful. She just has to put the time in like Etsy, and it's so hard. It's so hard when you just want to get up and get running right away. But I would just concentrate on doing more designs, Sarah, and not on whether one of them or 2 of them are selling or not selling or whatever. Just concentrate on getting some designs up and just have fun with the design process. The rest will come. Joanne, I'm not real sure if I'm going to do shirts yet. I have, I'm going to do loveys for sure. I've got some other ideas, but right now they're just ideas. It depends upon time to make things happen and if it works well or not for me. So yeah, I'm not even going to mention the items yet, just because it's like it's such a work in progress. And if it happens, then you guys are going to know. I will tell you what I'm doing, and I'll show you what I ended up doing. But if it's a total bomb, I'm not going to show you that, because I think it's going to be fine. I really do. I just think it's going to be something I have to work through a few times to be able to find the easier way to do it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So once I find the easier way, then I will show you the easier way versus the hard way. But I'll also show you what I changed to make it the easier way. So if you guys kind of go to do it yourself or want to try it, you can just pass by that and go straight to the easier way. But yeah, the tags are, I'm going to make, I actually tried them, but I'm needing to tweak some colors because it didn't come out quite as pink as I wanted. I thought it was going to be a little pinker, and it faded a little bit on me, so I've got to tweak my pink just a little bit. But I'm doing ribbon tags for like my bibs and burp claws and stuff that I'm going to start doing. And then the other tags will probably be the iron-on, like you're saying. I've got to get through. I've got just the regular transfer tags. Right now, I've got a whole bunch of those. I got to use those up first. There's nothing wrong with those. It's just they're vinyl transfer like you would do on a t-shirt before we had sublimation. And they're still, those are perfect. It's just they are not a part of the fabric like sublimation is. So if you do stretch them, they crack and break a little bit. So I will eventually switch over, but there may be times, well, I will switch over to some point. I'm going to have to always use those to some degree on dark fabrics, unless I figure out some other way to do a tag that works on dark fabrics, because as you know, you can't sublimate something that will show on a dark fabric. So yeah, like I said, a lot of that's still work in progress, so I may have to keep both going. I'm still just running out the gate with the ribbon tags. Those were my main ones I wanted to do. Plus then I have hang tags that I want to do for these clothes for the market. So those will go on a little bit thicker of a, oh, it's not even cardstock. You can buy it at, it's called chipboard. You can buy it at Hobby Lobby and probably Joann's and Michael's, I'm sure, but you can definitely get it at Hobby Lobby. And it's like craft paper, only thick, and you cut it with a knife. And so then I want to sublimate on that to make hang tags. And I know it's iffy because it's a medium color, so I may have to back off of that and go towards, there's all kinds of different things over in the art section of Hobby Lobby that you can buy in big sheets, and then you'll cut them down to make hang tags from. So I'm probably going to actually have to back away from the craft now that I'm thinking about it, because it won't really show up any better than if I put it through a printer, because the printer does the same thing. That's what I was making my yarn labels out of, was on craft paper, and it was good, but it wasn't great because you couldn't read it very well. Even the black did not pop off of that like you would think it would. So yeah, I'm probably going to switch to a white. Now that I think about it, that would only make sense, because then it'll pop my pink and pop my gold. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. You got a lot of mommies on here, Sarah, that totally understand. So yeah, you've got a lot of people that you can talk to and vent and work through some things with, and they totally have been there with you, I'm sure. I don't have kids, so I get it, but I'm sure I don't 100% get it. I mean, my dog is pretty darn close to a toddler some days. Oh yeah, let me tell you what she pulled the other night. no different than a toddler, what she pulled the other night. So I was video chatting with a friend of mine, and I always put Ember to bed. She has her own bedroom. Spoiled, I know. No, I have 2 bedrooms, and so in the spare bedroom, her kennel, if you will call it that, because it's huge. I mean, it's like the sides are 4 foot tall with an open top, and then it takes up almost half the size of the bedroom. That's how big it is. So she can get up and move around and walk around and play and do whatever. So she's not in this little tiny kennel because she's a 60-pound dog. So I wanted her to have room to move around and stretch out when she's sleeping at night and everything, and just be comfortable. And she actually loves her kennel because she'll lay in it during the day as well when I'm up here for my day job, and I'll catch her in there snoring away, and the cats even go in and lay with her in there. They love it because it's so big. And then I took one of the side pieces, because you just put it together with these big long pins, and I took one of the side pieces and put it on the top and zip tied it, because she's a climber. And I found that out by not doing that the first time, and actually the first couple of times. And I would put her in it when I would leave for the day, and I'd come home and she'd meet me at the door, and I'm like, how did you get out? And she climbed up and over. So I'm like, okay, we gotta take one of those. So I backed one of them out and I zip tied it, and it's still huge. And then I had one small area that was still kind of open, and so I put just like a board or a box or something over it. It was more just, if she can't see that she can try and get out, then she's not going to try. So I did that, and then I had another small piece that I thought, I'm just going to put a pillow over that. I just didn't trust, because I didn't want her to get up and get stuck when it's not big enough, because they just sometimes don't have that kind of ability to think. Well, Brody likes to go lay on that pillow all day and sleep with Ember while she's in the kennel, or even if she's not in the kennel, he'll go and sleep on that pillow. So it worked out really actually pretty good. So she is 2 now, and I was cleaning the closet that's in that room, and I'd taken the box. It was actually like a wood display piece, and I put it in the closet thinking, oh, she's old enough now. She's not going to try and climb out anymore. It's still pretty good sized hole, but she's old enough. She's used to being in there. She's been in there for off and on for a year and a half. So it's not a new thing anymore. We're not fighting this, oh my gosh, I want out because I don't know where I'm at kind of thing. So back to, I was video chatting after I put her to bed the other night with a friend of mine, and she could hear us talking, and she always has to be in the middle of everything. And I know that because I even hear her at night playing. She'll wake me up. She's literally right above my bedroom. She'll wake me up thumping around playing with her toys and stuff, and then she'll go back to sleep. And then she'll wake up a couple hours later and play with her toys for a few minutes and go back to sleep. Well, I heard this bigger thump than playing with her toys. It was kind of almost like she'd shoved something. And then half a second later, she's screaming, literally screaming in pain. And I'm like, oh my God, I could not move fast enough. I got up these stairs so fast, and I'm yelling at her all the way up, I'm coming. And she was screaming the whole way up, because I had this vision of her head stuck in that, or her arm dislocated, or, just that was the kind of scream I was getting. I don't close the door, but I kind of halfway close it because it calms her down and it keeps the light and everything going in. So it was still open, so I just kind of pushed it open, expecting to see the worst. And she's laying on the ground. She quit screaming literally right when I got there. She's just laying on the ground looking at me, and she kind of picked up her paw and moved it just a little bit, but it wasn't bad. I opened the gate thinking she's going to come limping out, or she's got a cut I'm not seeing, whatever. Oh no, she gets up, she walks out, and instantly gets down. Play. I'm like, You did not. You did not just do that. So I think what she did was she probably was trying to crawl out through that hole because she heard me talking and got her foot stuck just a little bit, or got a claw stuck and got it when she came down or whatever and couldn't get it out. And it scared her. And it probably hurt a little bit, but it probably wasn't hurting to the magnitude that she was screaming, because she sure was not limping. And even since then, she has not acted like she hurt herself, she cut herself, or anything. Oh, yeah, and then she went and crawled in bed with me, so she got what she wanted. Does that sound like a kid? And I was so mad at her for scaring me like that. So when I got back down to the video chat, my friend's eyes were like this big. Like, is she okay? And I was like, you could hear that? Uh-huh. Oh, I could hear that. I was like, oh my gosh, so scared. I shook for probably a half an hour. I just could not quit shaking because it scared me so bad. So instantly next day, I went and pulled the box out of the closet, put it right back on top. I'm like, box has got to stay. Obviously, you thought you were going to get out, climbing out. That's the only thing I can think of that happened. Because she was, when I heard that push, she was probably trying to crawl up the side to get out, and she wasn't going to be able to get out. It's not big enough for her to get out. She might have got her head through, but she would have never got her body through. Would have never thought she would have tried that. But oh my gosh. Hey, Patty. Yeah. So I'm not 100% sure that dogs aren't like kids sometimes, because that sounded so much like a kid move, and especially when I opened it up and she goes running out, oh, we're going to play now? And I was like, don't do that. Don't scream like that and then act like we're going to play. Show me you're okay first, you know? Because I had these visions of, she's a 60-pound dog. I can't pick her up. Literally can't pick her up. And all the way up the stairs, I've got this vision of, I've got to get her into the car and we're going to the emergency vet, and it's like 1:30 in the morning, you know? How am I going to get her down 14 stairs in my SUV by myself if she's hurt, you know? Really glad we didn't have to figure that out. I'm sure I would have figured it out, because you put them on a blanket to try and lift them or hoist them up or something. I would have figured it out somehow. Because she just would have had to help me, but I was just like, oh. So I'm sure I had every thought that every mother has when they hear that, of all these really bad things going through your head as you're going towards what's going on, you know? Oh my goodness. Yeah, butterflies I think are popular, Angela. I think you were right. I think that's a real big thing right now. So as you're noticing, I'm chain piecing even on the curved parts. Everything I do is chain piecing when I'm doing process sewing. Yeah, this fabric makes my nose itch. Sorry. It's just the dust, I think, from the Serger kicking up a little bit. sense. All right, so now I have all my pieces sewn together. So now we can start doing the putting them together chain piecing. And this is where if you're not real good with doing, sorry, it's just, that stuff is really kicking up. If you're not real good at one part, take your time. I guarantee by the time you get through the full size range or whatever, you're going to be really good at it. So be kind to yourself if you have to go really slow in certain areas, because that's just a momentary learning moment while you're doing that. And I guarantee it won't be like that for long. And you'll get to a point where you won't even have to maybe clip smear or pin smears, clip. I call it clip as in this kind of clip, not clip with like scissors clip. And you won't have to do that on certain areas. There's still areas I always will, because it's going to shift on me no matter how hard I try or how many I've sewn. And I've learned that you just don't fight it. So don't think that by clipping makes you either a beginner or something. It doesn't. It just, some areas are a little more fiddlier or harder to hang on to, and you just have to do it. There's nothing, there's times when it's even just a straight seam and I shouldn't have to clip, but I do, because of either the length of the seam or maybe, like this fabric wants to roll. If it was any longer than this, I would be clipping it, because all of a sudden I'd be off by down at the bottom by like a long ways off. So I would have to clip it. So don't be hard on yourself on doing certain things. Now, this next step, when I go to sew, I'm going to leave longer tails because I have to thread those back through at some point so that it locks in that stitch at the end so that your seams don't come apart. Now, you can tie knots if you want to. When I'm selling items, I don't want to do that. I want to professionally finish it. But if it's just, you're just doing bunnies for you, you don't have to thread it through if you don't want to. You can tie a knot, just an overhand knot, get it down there real close and then clip it, and that'll work as well. Trying to decide where I want to start here. Oh, big to small, just to kind of get used to doing this. It's been a little while since I've done these. So I'm going to be fiddling with them a little bit at the beginning as well, and that will go away. So when I'm turning these, even sometimes it doesn't hurt when you're doing your bunnies and you turn your waistband or your leg cuffs. Sometimes it doesn't hurt when you turn it. And I always match up the seams just to throw a clip on there, because I found that when I'm straightening up the other side, sometimes it makes this side move, and then I end up fiddling longer and longer with it. So it doesn't hurt to get one side clipped real good. And then I've already got that clip in place for when I go to put it on the bunny. And I'm probably going to sit and put all of these together so that I can chain piece them as well, because they do take a little bit longer to put together. So I might as well just do it all at one time, because I will lose a little bit of momentum if I do this and then sew one, and then do the next one and sew one. But this part is always a little fiddly. I always want to make sure I lay my seam down so it's nice, so I catch all three edges when I'm pinning it. So regardless, it's going to be fiddly. Still questioning if that's the right size for this one. I know on this fabric, I think I cut those bigger just because the fabric didn't want to stretch as much. And it's fine in the end. It still looks okay. It just makes the dummy a little gathered at the top, which this will be okay because it's the little girl's one. It's the girl's print. So if it's a little bit gathered, it's okay. But yeah, I think I did, now that I'm putting this together, I did remember that I made that a little bit wider, longer when I redid it. But oh well. Okay, so it is what it is. It'll be fine. It'll fit. She just went and laid down in there again. I can always hear, because dogs are so silly. Some lay down really, they'll do a circle and just real carefully lay down. Oh no, not my dog. She just falls. She just walks over, plop. There is nothing graceful about her. Hi, Mila. You gonna come say hi? Come here, baby. You wanna say hi? Come here. You know you were looking at jumping. Come here, baby. Come here. You wanna say hi? You know you were looking at coming up. Say hi. You know, you're like, I don't want to look that high. I don't understand. Right? Okay. Little snuggle bunny. She's always been so snuggly, and she'll come and want to snuggle for a few minutes, and then she'll go on her way, and about half an hour later she comes back. Oh, can we snuggle? And then she'll snuggle for another minute or two and go about her way again. And you're such a sweetie. Okay, do you have any tips on going around curves with the Serger, like the tabs on rompers? Slow. Going with curves on a Serger is tough because you've got your needle in the back, and then you've got your blade in the front. And when you sew, you don't realize your eye is probably more on the needle than you think when you're just sewing regularly. So then when I go to serge, my eye doesn't look at the needle, it looks at the blade because that's the frontmost thing. And I have to remember that when I've seen that blade pass through my fabric, that hasn't been sewn yet. My needle is still about a half an inch behind it. And so that's the part that gets a little tricky. And I've learned to work past that and got my eye now to watch the needle instead of the knife. And I didn't realize that I was doing that until I was like, why am I having a really hard time on curves? And it was because of that. So now that I've got myself to not pay attention to the knife at all and watch the needle and know that when I start, I've got to pay attention to make sure that that needle gets into my fabric before I let go for any reason. So I try and not let my knife go through much of the fabric. I try and keep it so it just barely takes just a shave off. And then I go slow and I have to learn to maneuver. And it just takes a lot of practice. It really, really does. Eventually, you'll be able to pick up the speed, so always go really slow. But I didn't realize that's what I was doing, and that's what was making it so hard. So I don't know if that, you guys pay attention when you do it too, and realize if you're watching the blade or watching the needle. And if you can disengage your blade and you don't need it, then that probably helps. I can't disengage my blade on my Juki. I know on the Brothers you can. So I just had to get used to doing it and watching further back. A right curve versus, okay, so Mary, what I do on stuff like that, that's skinny, I'm gonna have it on here, but I've learned I will turn, and I do this also on my sewing machine, that I have one hand, it doesn't matter which one, whether you're right or left-handed, you decide which works. I've got one that's forward helping guide it, and then I've got, for some reason, this matters. Back here, I hang onto it with my other hand and just kind of help turn the fabric. This isn't, there's hardly any drag on this. All it's doing, see, if I do it this way, see how it kind of wants to stop here because my finger stops it? Where if I go like this, even if my finger's stopping it, I'm helping guide it, and it makes it a whole lot smoother. So try that and get used to that movement, and even practice it a little bit here on a slick, or just get it up on like I had here and practice before you do it. And then go and do that and see if that helps you out any. Yeah, and I'd be very careful though if you're surging off and then picking up again. That is a method, and there's nothing wrong with it. But realize you're not creating a curve anymore. You're creating a segment and then trying to pick up that segment again and again. And it may affect the way your piece lays when you turn it inside out and try and get it to lay nice and smooth. So if you have to do that, get very, very good at knowing how to pick your curve up again and keep that as smooth as possible, because I guarantee it's going to show when you turn it inside in, or turn it right side out. And even if you finish stitch it or whatever, you still may see a little bit of a point at each place that you did that on. So just whatever method you guys choose to use, just get very good at it. Practice it a lot. Oh, you're back, Linda. I thought I saw you come back. Did you have dinner? I want to know what Tommy made. Her husband cooks so well. Oh my gosh, he spoils us so much when I go over there. Oh, for corners, yes. Perfect, Sarah, for corners. Absolutely. Yeah, for corners, I completely sew off. I do not stop and turn. I do the same thing. I sew completely off, start over, turn it, and start again. Yes, absolutely. But for curves, I've seen, and I've actually done it because it's kind of like I got forced off the road, you know, like a driver forces you off the road. Well, when I was sewing, it was like, I guess I just didn't have as much control at that moment, or I was just learning how to do it. And I kind of forced myself off the road. So I had to go back and pick up. And that's why I knew the minute I picked up, though, I knew that just from sewing all these years that was a possibility. So that's why I'm just laying that out there. Be really careful if you have to do that. If you have to do that to get used to it, sorry, Mila is rubbing her head up against the ring light, which is holding the camera. She's such a love. Honey, you can't headbutt that. It's not going to headbutt you back. And now she's making biscuits. She's so silly. So yeah, you'll figure out these things. It just takes a lot of practice, and I'm still learning. I'm getting better at it, and each time I do this, I get better, but always go slow. And you're going to hear that from everybody. Always go slow. Your biggest mistakes come when you try and add too much speed. So just remember, when you're learning how to drive, speed equals crashes. Well, you're going to get your version of crashes on here when you speed too quickly too soon. Yeah, what did you have, Linda? I want to know, what did you have? I'm sure it was fabulous. Even if it was just mac and cheese, I'm sure it was awesome. Yeah, and Mary Beth, you know what I'm talking about then. It's really hard not to get the points when you do that. I mean, I literally almost have to go all the way back and start again and try and make that curve. So just letting you guys know ahead of time if you end up doing that. What I have done, if I couldn't get it, is I would take that piece over to my sewing machine and then just go in and sew a nice curve, and then you'll lose those points. So just realize that is a cheat. So go ahead and surge, and if you have to do that until you get good at it and keep going off and going around and picking back up, you can always go and sew your curve on your sewing machine. Now realize you'll have to do a stretch stitch still, but if you sew into that very, when you've got the surge stitch at the very bottom there, if you just sew along that line pretty much when you're going back in with your sewing machine to correct the curve, and then obviously there's going to be a few stitches here and there that are not going to be on that because it can't be, because you're correcting it. And if you're doing the stretch stitch, you're going to be fine. So that's always a way to get around it until you really get good at doing the curves on sergers. Yep. So if I was gonna, like what Sarah was saying, if I'm sure all of you guys are following, but just in case somebody isn't, so I'm gonna pretend this is the square instead of my cuff. So you sew off, then you pick up and you turn and sew off, turn, sew off, turn, sew, and then that way you've got perfect corners. Yeah, Joanne, a 2T. Yeah, yeah. There are some sizes. I have talked in the past about if you guys are doing clothes for your shop and you're picking different patterns. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make sure your sizing stays true. So when you do like a 2 in this pattern and you pick a 2 in the other pattern, they could be completely different in sizing. So you may have to go up a size, down a size, or it might just be a 1/4 of an inch off. So just be aware of that and try and keep your sizing as true as you can, and just choose one and go with it and stay with it. Because like, when us women know this the best, when we go shopping, we all know different brands have different sizes. And so you might be a 14 in this size, a 10 in that size, a 12 in that one, an 8 in that one. You know, you're all over the board. So we want to make sure our customer, when they come back, knows our 2s are our 2s, and they know how the 2s are going to fit, and they know how the 3 is going to fit, and it's going to be standard all the way across our shop on our items. So it's not too hard. Just make sure you know your measurements. And then if you have one brand that you know is a solid 2 or a solid 12 months or whatever, and you trust that that's a 12-month, and then so you know all the other sizes are going to be true to size as well, use that as your standard. Put it up on your wall, get all your measurements and put them up there. And then that way, when you go to, I also do cut measurements. So you know when you cut that, you know, like your chest measurement has to measure this much as a cut measurement, and then you'll know your seams are always going to be the same. So then your sewing measurement is always going to be, you know, within a 1/16 of an inch or something. But you always know that's going to come out the same as well. And hey, Lakeisha, is that Lakeisha? Oh, I can't read that far. No, it's Elia. I'm sorry, Elia. I thought I saw Lakeisha, and okay, screen's like forever away, and I have to be right up in the screen. Sorry, Elia. So that's just the one thing you will notice. Now, most of the patterns aren't going to be drastically off, but they might be off by like a 1/4 of an inch. And there's nothing wrong until you start having your one size be a quarter of an inch big, a quarter of an inch small, and it's a little bit all over the board, you could have some problems and a lot of returns. So just letting you know, it's just a matter of always measuring and adjusting that initial pattern out of the gate. And then once you've done that and you've adjusted it and made it to fit your shop standard size, then you're good to go. So you only have to do it once. You know, I give up trying to read people's names anymore. So I hate surging forward towards my screen because you guys get this close up far away, and I'm like, you really don't want to close up, trust me. So anyway, yeah, so I'm just going to go through, and I'm kicking myself that I forgot about this. Of course, I hadn't done this one, and it's part of it's the fabric. I know it is, because it's that one that I was telling you that rolled a lot, so it doesn't have as much stretch as this fabric that doesn't roll. There's a whole lot more stretch to this fabric. So I'm not going to have as much of a problem with it, but I need to remember to make a mental note to adjust these, because I did a test and I made this band, I think about a quarter of an inch longer, and it sewed in with a little bit less gathering. So yeah, sorry about that, but it'll be all right. It will work, and if it really bothers me on this one, in fact, I might just do this one and see how badly it bothers me. And then that means I also have to put a lot more hooks in, since it's going to gather. I've got to make sure it looks right. And it might just been this one size. I can't remember. What I usually do, and I haven't, if you go to my Etsy site, I'm still trying to catch up, okay? Just give you that upfront disclaimer before I say this. I will list the measurements for the size of that garment in each listing. So it's on my, which one is it? Because I got to catch up. I forgot to do it when I was listing a bunch of stuff, and then I remembered later, and I'm like, oh boy, I need to go and make that slide for that. Right. So, which one was it? It was one of the dresses. I think it was the tent dress with the elephant applique on down at the bottom that I did it. Look and see. I'll show you guys what I did. How it came out. Find it. It's in here. I'm having such a hard time finding this. There it is. Right by it, that's why. That one? No, it's not that one. Which one did I do that? Oh, it was the peasant dress. Yes, it was the peasant dress. Okay, so on my peasant dress, if you guys want to look at it later again too, I did like that, and I hate that that ring light shows like that. Come on, focus. Why does one focus either? There, you can see it. So, and then on the next, I went even further, and I gave them lengths because they could either order it as a tunic or as a dress. So I gave them lengths by size on the second one, and then I gave them measurements per size. And again, it just doesn't matter. But it's on my peasant dress. I have 2 listings for my peasant dress if you guys want to go look at it on my Etsy site, if you're curious. But I kept my branding the same still on there because that's my, it's kind of my label, I guess. But you also see it on my YouTube a lot of times on the very beginning when I'm just doing a chat with me or something. I'll put up and show this branding part on there. So just made a little slide in Canva. And I've got that permanently then in Canva so that I can always go back and refer back to that one. So like a flowy dress like that peasant, that's going to be my standard sizing on not only chest measurements, but also on lengths so that it stays the same. It is a lot of work, Juana. It really, really is. But when you go buy something online size-wise, you look for that stuff. And so I just kind of realized that not too long ago. I was like, yeah, I really need to include that. That's really, really, really important. And then it also helps. There's not so much back and forth conversation because a lot of those questions are answered for them in those 2 pictures. So it's worth the time. And then also on the back end, if you've got a customer that's complaining, oh, well, you know, I didn't know the size or whatever. If you've got that on every single one and she didn't see it, you know, but you can't spoon feed them. You can't sit there with them and move the mouse going, move the slide. You didn't see all the pictures. You didn't go into the listing and really read it, you know. And you can copy that and put it also in the body of your listing and copy that like into a Word document so that you always just go copy it and paste it when needed, or you just copy it from a previous listing and paste it. I always copy from a previous listing. I'm always copy pasting a lot of things so that I don't have to write very much and I can do my listings really quick. They've got to go up fast for me. That's the thing that trips me up is taking pictures, editing pictures, and doing my listings just because it takes time. And I do those more when I'm tired, and I'll save some of that stuff for when I'm really tired and don't feel like sewing, but I feel like I want to do something to keep pushing my shop forward. So when I'm tired, I'll go back through and make a bunch of those size slides to put on my other stuff as well. I just need to go pull up each one of these patterns and just really see how I did the breakdown on sizing so that I've got it correctly. So on some of those, my sizing is, you know, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Some of it is 6 to 9, 9 to 12. So I've got to make sure that my sizing range is also the same, and I can't just make assumptions there. Yeah, I want to just pick one. Pick a sizing. I love the Odebrey sizing. And if you've not heard of Odebrey, it's a Norwegian pattern company. I've used their sizing for years, and I have never once had a customer complain that the sizes were off. It is really true sizing. It's amazing. So I go through, granted, their sizing is European sizing and they go by height. So you kind of have to figure out by the measurements where you're starting. So like on the Oderbray, you don't know if they're starting at a newborn or if they're starting at a 3-month on some of that stuff until you've kind of looked at. So you go and just kind of figure out where you're at. And then you're going to also find some of the sizes, like a 12-month could be here and here, or a 2 could be here, here, and maybe here. So you kind of just have to pick something and roll with it, and then let that be your standard. But I swear by their size charts. I use that. That is the one that's always been my standard, and it's just because they're tried and true for me. Yep. Anything you can do to get everything out there in front of the customer's eyes as much as possible saves a lot of conversations on the back end, a lot of questions. If you give a lot of information too, it gives them a comfort level to buy from you. I know the more information I can read when I go to buy something, the better off I feel making that purchase. So just kind of always step back and look at your listings and see if you're giving enough information, if you as a customer would feel comfortable. Because sometimes we don't look at it from that way, and we realize later on, we're like, oh, duh. Yeah, I always look for this, and I didn't include it, or I always look for that, and I didn't include it. So yeah, sometimes it's just overwhelming, too much stuff we're trying to do, and you just miss it. It's not like you didn't want to put it there. You just forgot that was kind of always there, you know? So the aha moments. We're getting close to that time. I know Zoe's going to go on here in about 20-25 minutes, I think. Let me just double check that she's not already on, because my understanding, she said 7 Pacific, so we've got like half an hour yet. I want to double check that she's not on, because if she's on, I don't want to be competing, because I know some of you guys wanted to go watch her too. She's not on yet, so yeah, my gauge was right. I'm just double checking one more time here. Yeah, she's not on yet, so she's coming up soon. Hey, have a good week, Joanne. Thanks for joining us. All right, Sarah. Oh, that's sweet. She's going to have wonderful memories from that, Sarah. I'm so glad you do that with her. Oh, thanks, Linda. But yeah, we've got, probably about a half an hour, so I can let you guys go get your beverage or run to the restroom or whatever, so we can all go join Zoe for a while and be on her live. I haven't been on her live in a long time, so I'm looking forward to just sitting here sewing and watching and talking with you guys. On that one, I'm gonna have to switch you guys to this other screen though, because I'm not going to be able to chat. I actually have my keyboard hooked up, so I'm not going to be able to chat and look far away and sew at the same time. So I'm definitely going to have to move you guys over to this closer screen. So yeah, but so glad you guys joined me, and I hope you go try this. This was incredibly fast, and I just cannot believe how much I'm going to love this. So this I think I might make more of these and make them a little deeper, and I bet I'm going to make those to fit in my cubbies downstairs in my squares in my storage units too. So I think that was where my intent on that was going as well. So Zoe, you got 30 minutes yet? I didn't realize you were still here. So you're going on not quite 30 minutes, about 25. Night, Mia. Yes, I think we're all going to come on over to your live here. That could be a possibility, Ilya. I don't know. I'm not going to be one of those really doing blanks. So I can't answer for everybody else, but I'd love to see if you're thinking about doing some. Let us know. I'm sure the girls will be thrilled to hear about it and support you. And yeah, 7 is approaching. So, okay, so I was right. So we've got about 25 minutes. And then we'll all be over there. So yeah, if you're thinking about doing sublimation blanks, Elia, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. I mean, just because I say I'm not going to right now, that doesn't mean I won't see in the future a need for them. Once I get past my initial thoughts that I've got in my head. There's that. Oh, you do, Ilya? I did not know that. Okay. Share with us, please. We need to know this. We did not know. At least I did not know. Maybe the other girls did. Tell them where it's at. Yeah, tell them where it's at. If you can put, I don't know if you're able to post a link. I don't think you can because you're not the moderator, but if you could just type it out. I'm sure you can type it out in the comments. So, like your website or whatever. Put it up there. That way we can all go check it out. Yep, I agree. Promote, promote, promote. And Linda, if you're wanting to join us over at Zoe's Live, it's Aqua Bloom Boutique on YouTube. So her name is just a little further up in the chat there. If you wanted to hop on over there, and it's going to be all the same pretty much people, and then there'll be a few more. Oh, okay, cool. Do that, Ilya. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you had your website up or not. Yeah, I'm excited too, Mia. I'm actually really very aware of the time ticking every day because I have so much in my head that I know I need to get done because I've got the booth completely put together in my head. And I've got things that go with things. And I'm just like, I'm glad these are showing up as fast as they are. Because I was getting a little discouraged last night that I wasn't going to make it, but I think I will. I may just have to scale back on the number of prints that I offer. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I just took a drink. To be able to offer the way I want it to look in the booth. So. Oh, absolutely, Angela. That's what this is all about. We all get together and learn from each other. Absolutely. But yeah, the market is an every month thing now. And so I was fortunate that the way they did it, you get accepted once. You don't have to keep reapplying every month. So once you're accepted, then all you do, I know the next month I can just pay for, I think they mean every month. I can just go pay for it every month. I don't have to keep getting reaccepted after that. So if that's the case, and if this is what it appears to be, I am shocked. I am just over the moon about this. So, hey, Ediani, hey, are you at work? The skirted bummies were so cute, Mia. Oh my gosh, those were so adorable. Okay, cool. I figured you were. We're heading over to Zoa's live here in about 20 minutes. So I know you're going to be in and out. So I just want to let you know. If you've got a chance later on, I'm sure she's going to go for a little while too, a couple hours. So that's where we're headed over to next. Yeah, Mia, that was adorable. Absolutely adorable. You guys really nailed it when you put a skirt on those bummies. So perfect. I know. I can't wait to feel the fabric. Elia, my sample pack is coming. She's sending it to me. I cannot wait. What did I do, Ediani? I did this little bin, and you can make it any size. I just made mine smaller because I'm going to use it for sewing, but I'm also going to make some bigger ones to put in my cubbies downstairs because I'm running out of the bins, and the bins can be really expensive to go buy. You know, they can be 12 bucks a piece. Well, I've got so much scrap vinyl fabric, faux leather, canvas. I'm just going to make a bunch of them, and they're so easy. So yeah, you need to go back and watch Eddie. I mean, literally, these sew together in like 10 minutes. It probably takes you 15 to cut them out and 10 to sew them together, and they're done. So yeah, go check it out. I think these are going to be great little things for anything, even like your bathroom, your kitchen. You know, give us gifts because you can do different sizes. So I know I'm going to think of a whole bunch of uses for these. And it actually fits really good in the shoebox, just letting you know that size. That was that 12 by 12. The outside this is faux leather, so it's like a vinyl. I've got a piece right here. Let me show you. So it looks like this on one side, and then this on the other. Can you kind of see? And you can't iron this side because it'll melt. So I had to throw it into the dryer to get the crease out of it, and you know the crease is still there a little bit, but it's fine. It's just for me. I don't really care. But yeah, so Eddie, honey, you should have to use something on the outside that has a little bit of a stiffness to it, or you have to make whatever you use on the outside stiffer by putting a heavier interface on the back. So yeah, but I'm just going to use up a whole bunch of my scraps. I had a bunch of this faux leather scrap downstairs that I can make some more out of, and it wasn't even enough really to do anything with, except maybe something like this. So use that up. What? What, you just realized I was in here? What? Silly. I know. Yeah, you're lucky you're back in Mama's good graces. Don't scare me like that ever again. And those of you that came in late, you'll have to go back and rewind and listen to my story about what she did to me the other night that scared me bad. Yeah, you know I'm talking about you. Yes. I think she needs to GOOUT. I think that's part of it because I'm getting that tail wagging, expectant look of, hi, I'm your best friend right now. Mm-hmm. All right, so we got about 15 minutes until Zoe comes live. So I'm going to hop off and let all you guys go to the bathroom and grab something to drink. I need to take her out, and that gives us 15 minutes, and we can go hop on Zoe's live and catch back up again. So thanks for joining me, guys. And it'll be next Sunday again. I'm going to try and do some more videos and post. I know I keep saying that, but I think it's going to be a little easier now that I got some things set up here. So I'll start doing just some random videos instead of lives as well. But yeah, you have a good evening, Eddie, Ani. Enjoy work, okay? Glad you could come join us for a minute. And I will see all you guys next week, but also see you in a few minutes over on Aqua Blooms Live over Aqua Bloom Boutique on YouTube, guys. See you over there. Good night. Love you guys.